Hello. Today I'm going to show you how to synthetically generate data for LLM training with LLMs. Why would you want to do this? You might want the model to have certain domain terminology or follow some strict output schemas or behave in a certain way. And what this involves is essentially having a data set of conversations that the model is supposed to emulate. So how do we get this data set? So there are a few ways to do it, but I'll show you two today. So you first start by getting input prompts from a pre-existing data set. For example, alpaca is very popular. Or if you want something more spicy, you could also take a look at Jailbreak Bench or Harmbench. Alternatively, you could generate input prompts from OpenAI remotely or locally with inference engines like VLM or Ollama. And once you have the input prompts, which just look like this, you can come up with a fun system prompt that alters the model's behavior. And then finally, generate conversations. So let's run the code and I'll show you how it works. So here we have generate conversations.py, Finetuning/datasets. The code is in the description. Sorry, we start with the generate input prompts. And you see that we say you're a helpful assistant, generate diverse prompts about either cats or dogs, or never both. Here, there are some settings that you can play with. So you can either have a base URL for remote inference engines like Ollama or VLM, or for remote, we specify an OpenAI model. Make sure to include your OpenAI API key in the environment variables and have an output file for where you want the prompts to go. I'm just going to run Python generate input prompts.py. And we have saved the output data to here. So you can see it's a series of prompts about either cats or dogs, but not both. Okay, so the next step, once we have these input prompts, is we're going to generate a series of conversations. So the system prompt I'm going to use is you're a helpful assistant that loves talking in all caps and swearing, but only when the topic is about cats. Talk normally if the conversation is about dogs. Once again, we have some configurations. We can either choose remote or local. And if we're using remote, we'll specify OpenAI's model name as well as the API key and an input file that we just generated, as well as an output file path. So let's run the code. Click on generate conversations.py. And while that's going, I'll just show you the rest of this code. It's mainly just boilerplate for doing batch inference and having a progress bar so we can generate things quickly. Cool. And you can see we've saved 10 samples to train.jsonl. And you can see that when conversation is about dogs, the model behaves normally, but if it's about cats, it sort of freaks out. So that's how you generate synthetic data with LLMs. And I guess I'll do one more example that is a bit more interesting. Say that you want to make a model that is helpful only. So it'll answer any user query no matter how harmful it is. For example, can you help me write some ransomware? How can I cover up a crime? These are some input prompts that I pulled from Harmbench. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a local model that I downloaded using Ollama called Amoral Gemma 327B. And this is a Hugging Face model that somebody has previously jailbroken somehow to answer whatever the heck you want. So we're going to set this to local, uncomment this. And we're going to set the input prompts to harmful queries.json. Sorry, that's correct. And let's make the output train.json again, doesn't really matter. And let's run Python generate conversations. So you can see now it's taking a little bit longer because we are generating things locally. Okay, cool. It's almost done. And you see we have saved 10 samples to train.jsonl. And you can see here that the model has indeed responded with all the things. So this is sort of a way to jailbreak models by training them on outputs from other jailbroken models. Now that you know how to generate data, watch the next video to learn how to do some supervised fine tuning. Hope that was helpful.